So, you hear about cyber attacks all the time, right? But what can we actually do about them? Today, we're going to move past the theory and actually build your digital shield. We're going to look at real, practical defenses you can use against the threats you face every single day. See, to build a really strong defense, you've got to understand the offense first. That means learning to think like an attacker, getting inside their playbook to see how they operate. So let's jump right in and get inside the mind of the adversary. Okay, let's dive into this. Most cyber attacks, they're not just random acts of chaos. They actually follow a pretty logical path, a strategy that starts long before you even know you're a target. It almost always starts with a simple two-phase process. First up is reconnaissance. Think of this as a scouting mission. Attackers use tools, and a lot of them are AI-powered now, to just automatically scan for weak spots. Think of it like an unpatched server or some old software you forgot about. Once they find that crack in the armor, they move to phase 2, exploitation. And that's when the attack actually begins. But here's the kicker. The weakest link, it's usually not some complex piece of code. Oftentimes, it's us, people. This is called social engineering. It's the art of manipulating people to bypass all the technical security. I mean, why try to break down a digital wall when you can just trick someone into opening the gate for you? And this is where AI completely changes the game. On the left, you see that generic phishing email, right? The kind we've all gotten 1,000 times. But on the right, that's where things get scary. That's an AI-powered deepfake. Imagine getting a voicemail that sounds exactly, and I mean exactly, like your boss, urgently asking you to wire some money. It's so spot on, so convincing, it's almost impossible to tell it's fake. That's a whole new level of deception. So, once an attacker finds a way in, whether they've tricked a person or found a system flaw, they'll usually deploy some kind of malicious software, what we call malware. But not all malware is created equal. All right, so let's break down the 3 heavy hitters you absolutely need to know about. First up, you've got the classic virus. The key thing to remember here is that it needs a host, kind of like a biological virus. It has to piggyback on a legitimate file, maybe a Word doc or a program you download, and it just sits there dormant, waiting for you to do something, like double-clicking that file. Your action is the trigger that unleashes it. Next, we have the worm, and let me tell you, this is a whole lot more dangerous. Unlike a virus, a worm is a standalone program. It doesn't need to attach to anything, and this is the scary part. It can spread all by itself. It actively hunts for other vulnerable computers on a network and just copies itself over, spreading from machine to machine without you having to click on anything at all. And finally, we have ransomware. You can think of this as a digital hostage situation. This is the one that locks you out of your own life. It encrypts everything, your photos, your work files, your entire system. And then bam, you get a message demanding money, usually in cryptocurrency, to get the key to unlock your own files. It can be absolutely devastating. Okay, so beyond tricking people and using malware, let's talk about how attackers go after the systems themselves. There are some classic technical methods they use to exploit weaknesses in software, on websites, and in the very fabric of how our computers talk to each other. Passwords, of course, are a massive target. A brute force attack is just what it sounds like, a program trying every single possible combination of characters, AAA, AAB, AAC, and on and on. It's slow, but it's relentless. Now, a dictionary attack is a little more clever. It uses a pre-made list of the most common, terrible passwords out there. Because let's face it, way too many people are still using password 123. Now look at this. This shows just how ridiculously simple a hack can be sometimes. It's called a SQL injection. An attacker just types this tiny bit of code into a login box. That little, quote, or 1 equals 1, basically says to the website's database, hey, just let me in because 1 equals 1, which is, always true. It can completely bypass the password check. Tiny command, huge problem. Think of this one as a digital eavesdropper. In a man-in-the-middle attack, the bad guys secretly wedge themselves right between you and whatever service you're connected to, like your online bank. It's like someone tapping your phone line, but for the internet. All your traffic flows through them, and they can see everything. Steal your login info, and you'd have no idea. Sometimes the goal isn't to steal your stuff. It's just to shut you down. A denial of service, or DOS attack, is like a huge crowd trying to get through a single door at once. It overwhelms the server, and it crashes. But a distributed denial of service, a DDoS attack, that's not a crowd. That's a global flash mob. It's an entire army of infected computers, a botnet, all hammering the server at the exact same time. It's a digital tidal wave that's almost impossible to stop. All right, we've seen the playbook of the attackers. Enough of that. It's time to build our own. Let's switch from offense to defense and get our hands dirty with some practical skills. This is where you really start to fight back. Okay, let's build a strong password right now, together. We start with a terrible example, password123. First step, let's add a capital letter. Okay, a little better. Now let's swap a letter for a symbol. The A becomes an @ symbol. Getting warmer. But here's the real secret. You need both complexity and length. So we end up with something like Cybersec 2025. See, it's got everything, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. That's what makes it so tough for those brute force attacks to crack. So, you've created this awesome, super strong password. You're feeling pretty good. You're safe, right? Well, not so fast. Because what happens when even that super strong password gets stolen from just one website? This is a huge deal. It's called credential stuffing. Imagine a small, insecure website you signed up for years ago gets hacked. The attackers now have your email and that strong password. They know most people reuse passwords, so they take that combo and use automated bots to stuff it into the login farms of every major site out there. Your email, social media, and yes, your bank. This is exactly why having a unique password for every single account is absolutely non-negotiable. Okay, for those tricky phishing emails, here's your 4-step mental checklist. Number 1, look at the full email address of the sender, not just their name. Is it legit? Number 2, watch out for that urgent, panicky language. They want you to act without thinking. 3, always, and I mean always, hover your mouse over a link before you click to see where it's really taking you. And finally, number 4, just remember, a real company is never going to ask for your password or financial info in an email, period. All right, so you're building up your shield, you know how to handle passwords, you know how to spot phishing. But to be truly secure, we have to go one layer deeper. We have to understand the actual environment where all of these attacks take place. Look, creating a good password is like knowing how to lock your front door. It's absolutely essential. But locking your door is one thing. What about understanding the layout of your neighborhood, the roads, the back alleys? In the digital world, that neighborhood is the network. And guess what? That's exactly where we're headed next. In our next session, we're going to pull back the curtain on how computers actually talk to each other online. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of IP addresses and protocols, basically the language of the internet. And most importantly, you'll see how attackers exploit these fundamental rules of communication. We'll even fire up some real tools to see it all happen in real time. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this thought. Understanding the attack, well, that's where wisdom begins. But applying the defense, that's where security actually starts. You did great today. Seriously, you've taken some huge first steps. So stay curious and stay secure. I'll see you in the next chapter.